Hi there. The two cards we're talking about today are the Death card and the Tower card. And the deck we are referencing today is the Influence of the Angels Tarot deck. This is a Tarotorial. So I'm going to go into what the meanings are between these two cards. The deck I'm using does have a religious, spiritual representation as far as like the symbology and the messaging is concerned. But just know that like depending on what tarot deck you're using, the symbology could differ. All right, so let's talk about the Death card. I feel like when people get the Death card, they like freak out. And it's not necessary to freak out. Same thing with the Tower card. I feel like this card also has this like bad representation, whatever word that should be. All right, so here's the angelic message when it comes to the Death card. When something dies, don't pretend it isn't. Don't pretend it hasn't. Living with the decayed remnants of something that was once alive and refusing to acknowledge its demise is not healthy. Accept the death and let the next phase begin. So this really talks about like an ending of a cycle, an ending of something that no longer served you, ending of a friendship, a relationship, a partnership, the ending of a way of doing something. Maybe you used to do something a certain way and now you've kind of switched gears. So it also can be an ending of a mindset. Maybe, you focused a lot on the past and now you're focused on the now. And, making sure that you are aware of, being able to not go back to like the past tendencies, right? And letting it kind of just dissipate. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this. So Azrael is responsible for guiding dead souls into heaven. He is shown on the card entering a tunnel of light with a departed soul. Okay, so this is also representing like the death and rebirth process as well as ascension. So the tunnel of light here, as far as the symbology is concerned, this type of tunnel has been described by people who have had a near-death experience and illustrates the transition from death to the afterlife. It represents the concept when one phase ends, the next phase begins. So there's a crowd of people, okay? Young, old, male and female, they all wait for their turn to go to heaven. They represent the fact that most, if not all, things come to an end. So some of the direct meanings when you see the Death card is one phase must end before the next can begin. Being in transition can go from a known to an unknown situation, as well as acceptance of the inevitable, okay, and allowing things to be released, okay. Some of the other meanings here from a shadow perspective would be like negativity, fear of death, fear of the unknown, nihilism, as well as, just kind of fighting something from being released from your energy. So this could be a people, person, place, or thing. I guess people, person is the same thing. People, place, or thing. So this is kind of like you allowing things to end so that something new can begin, okay? That is the Death card. The next one we're doing is the Tower. All right, so let's see. The Tower. We have people falling down to the ground. We have things on fire. We have things being hit by light bulbs. Oh no, what are we gonna do? So the message here is when you overestimate your own accomplishments, when you think you're worth more than you actually are, when you have no humility, when you're filled with arrogant pride, you are guilty of hubris. See yourself realistically with humility. It will help you avoid causing damage and harm to yourself and others, okay? So oftentimes the tower will fall because something was built on false foundations, which could also be false pride, ego, lack of humility. So let's talk a little bit about this. Barakiel is known to be the chief of the guardian angels and is considered the angel in charge of lightning. So the symbology in this card is there's a tower and it's on the top of a hill. So as a structure, the tower represents mankind's structured ideas, philosophy, religion, science, technology, civics, and the institutions, okay, associated with them. So that would be schools, churches, government, etc. Prior to being hit by lightning, the tower sat firm and erect on a very high hill, represented the highest or best in human achievement and ideas based on those structured ideas and ideals, right? Philosophy, religion, science, technology, and civics. So physically, in our reality, schools, churches, and government, okay? So the tower is being destroyed by lightning and symbolizes the destruction of ideas and institutions that have become old and obsolete. It represents flawed, unproductive, or worthless beliefs or situations that get in the way of personal happiness, healthy behavior, and clear thinking. This tower is also reminiscent of the biblical Tower of Babel. In that story, the people of Babylon wanted to build a tower tall enough to reach heaven. They were driven by the idea of worldwide fame and admiration. God saw that they were more focused on themselves and the tower than on him, so he stepped in. At the time, every person on earth spoke just one language, but suddenly they began to speak in different languages. The Babylonians were unable to finish building the tower because they could no longer communicate with each other. God then scattered the people over the whole earth. The Tower of Babel story is about hubris, arrogant pride in oneself and one's own accomplishments. The Tower card shows hubris put in his proper place, knocked down just as God put an end to the Babylonian tower. Wow. Lightning. The symbology of the lightning, the one bolt has already hit the top of the tower, with another about to strike. The lightning causes the top, the head of the tower, to break from the bottom. The lightning represents shock, shattered concepts, and disruption. The break indicates a break from old ideas and situations and the need for change. It's almost like change is coming whether you like it or not, okay? And the direct meanings here for the tower is that there is a rude awakening coming and realizing the truth of something. And long-standing beliefs are suddenly shown to be wrong or false. There's shock, mental or emotional disruption that happens after being enlightened by the truth. Assessing the situation and acknowledging the need for rebuilding. Something that's more stable, strong, and all-inclusive, instead of only benefiting for the small group that is considering just themselves in the situation. Addressing arrogant or false pride that is knocked down and put into its rightful place. Unexpected news or events that cause change or the need for change of a situation or one's system of beliefs. Disruption of the status quo, a shock to the system, abruptly breaking away. So we are seeing a lot of this now in our physical reality. There are a lot of systems that do need to be rebuilt for the greater good. I just ask for you to be mindful, okay, when you are seeing these systems kind of come down, okay? The shadow meaning here is complete instability, all right? Feeling unmoored or adrift or even rudderless, okay? And just, I feel like this card is coming for us to sit with, because there are many systems that really aren't working for us anymore, and it is a call for us to step up and create something that's more stable, that represents the community at large and not just representing what works for the few. All right, so this is your Tarotorial for today. If you liked this reading, please click like and follow for the next one. See you next time.